Welcome back. In just a matter of weeks, recreational use of marijuana will be legal in Canada. But there are new concerns about whether the country is ready. Medical experts say ER visits across Canada are already seeing a spike in visits from people who are unaware of the potency of edible cannabis products. Katie Nicholson reports.
Emergency doctors on the front lines in Toronto say they're seeing more cases of cannabis poisoning or overdoses.
Well, we're seeing a lot of people out there who are accidentally ingesting huge amounts of cannabis. And they're not realizing that what they're taking in is excessive. Nothing's labeled properly. The serving sizes are not clearly marked. So they're eating a whole brownie, not realizing they're only supposed to eat, 1/8 of that brownie.
In fact, new numbers provided to CBC News by the Canadian Institute for Health Information show that Canadians are increasingly ending up in emergency rooms because of cannabis-related poisoning or overdoses. The number of visits has nearly tripled in 3 years in Ontario and nearly doubled over the same time period in Alberta. Now that ties up beds, nursing and physician resources, and medical experts worry that's going to get worse in October when pot is legal. Now, Health Canada says edibles won't be legal for at least another year after legalization, but of course they're already widely available. And the Canadian Public Health Association says Canada is already behind in getting the message out on responsible use of cannabis.
We want to see health promotion information out there that takes a harm reduction approach. We know people want to use this product. We know that a quarter of 15 to 24-year-olds in Canada are currently using it in the illegal market.
Manitoba, Alberta, and BC all say that they have public awareness campaigns planned for the fall around responsible use for cannabis. Ontario says that public information is very important on cannabis use, but it didn't have any details for us on what it plans to do to educate the public. Katie Nicholson, CBC News, Toronto.
Our next guest knows quite a bit about cooking with cannabis. Travis Peterson is a Vancouver-based chef who has been traveling across Canada, hitting 8 cities so far since spring, putting on dining events that feature cannabis as a main ingredient. He joins us from Edmonton now. Travis, first of all, what are some of the common mistakes people make when eating cannabis-infused foods?
Well, I think the first mistake is just and it's not even a mistake. I just think right now education is very important. There's been a stigma with cannabis for a very long time, and with Canada taking the forefront in legalization globally here, it's very important that, people are being educated properly about, what they're ingesting and eating.
Is it usually the complaint that we hear, and perhaps this is your experience as well, that people take simply too much?
Yeah, absolutely. It's taking too much and what might look like a little amount. They just might not be fully aware of what's in there. It's why we're seeing the government, wait a little bit longer with edibles to get the sort of regulation in properly and make sure that the companies and people out there manufacturing and producing edibles are creating the right product out there for people to consume.
How do you incorporate cannabis into your cooking so it's safe?
Well, the way I do it, normal traditional cooking, you're infusing in sauces and you're cooking with it from the start. The way I go about it is I actually microdose each one of our guests individually when they sit down. So we kind of gauge where their tolerance and consumption level is. So we get people, our demographic coming out to these dinners is everything from 19 to 70 years old, all walks of life. And there's a lot of people out there that are curious and are excited and want to come out and try this. So, it's our goal to make sure that every guest, no matter people have been using cannabis for years or first time or just a little bit, everyone leaves feeling great, feeling the same. So, we make sure that we're dosing in small amounts, right down to the milligram per plate before a guest touches it. And we're also making sure that we're balancing out THC with CBD. A lot of people might not understand the difference between them, and that's where we fall back to education and really starting to inform, everyone about cannabis.
As we know, the government is waiting a bit longer, going to take another year before it decides to legalize edibles overall. What do you think it needs to do in terms of regulation to make sure that people stay safe?
Well, I think the most important thing is looking at the people who are manufacturing and producing, making sure that accurate dosaging is going in, and as well, again, over the next couple months as legalization hits on October 17th, again, educating people. This is a new thing. We are a leader in the world, really, when it comes to legalization. A lot of other first world countries are going to be watching how we sort of manage and go about this. So as excited we are for October 17th, the government taking a little more time to make sure that the right regulations are in place for edibles is a safe and smart move.
Travis Peterson, we appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you.
One of the lingering issues surrounding legalization is how to test for people who are driving while high. Police will soon have another option for that. Justice Minister Jody Wilson-Raybould has been given the green light to a new roadside test that will check a driver's saliva for THC. That's the main mind-altering chemical in cannabis. The equipment will now be made available to police forces across the country. Officials say it will still be up to police forces to decide what testing equipment they want to use, though. But the new test's reliability is already in question. A Norwegian study has raised concerns about a serious number of skewed results that critics argue will inevitably lead to constitutional challenges.
In other countries that have approved them, they're seeing rates of false positives around 15%, and that's particularly so in colder temperatures. The operating temperature for the device is 4 to 40 degrees Celsius, and in Canada, we're outside 4 degrees Celsius a lot of the time, particularly in major urban centers in this country like Ottawa and Montreal, Edmonton, Calgary. All of those places have cold temperatures a huge percentage of the year, and that's going to lead to unreliable results and false arrests.